Greetings, travelers, and welcome back to Tales from the Enchanted Forest with your hosts, Fox and Sparrow.
Hey, Fox. It's good to see you on this beautiful sunny day. We are full-blown into summer at this point. Summer solstice has come and gone, and it's just, wow. It's hot where I'm at.
Well, now we're on our march towards winter as the days now start to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until the Oak King will defeat the Holly King. We always come back to the Holly King and the Oak King. I swear to God, it's just my favorite thing to mention.
Well, it does. It's like is something that we're always marching towards. Is one of them killing the other. And we are a sucker for the solstice, and it's the easiest one to reference on hand for the solstice. Like we could say, oh, like what are we gonna say? Persephone has gone back to the underworld. Things are about to start to get cold now. Like it doesn't have the same ring.
The Holly King has defeated the Oak King at the height of his power, and now we're on our slow march towards winter again. I feel like the longer we do the podcast, the longer I feel like time just goes by so quickly. I keep thinking about how I feel like time goes slowly and then really fast, but it feels like no time at all has passed since I last spoke to you, and now we're doing it again.
Yeah, we're talking about the weather, we're talking about Holly King and Oak King.
Soon we'll be figuring out our Christmas episodes, and we'll be like, oh my God, we have no time to record our Christmas episodes because December is crazy.
It's always crazy. To be fair, summer is also usually crazy. Goals this year is to have more consistent upload during the summer. We'll see how that works out. I don't know why summer gets nuts.
I feel like it's because we have an expectation in our mind that summer means summer vacation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that because we're adults. So we don't have that summer vacation of like, oh, well, we'll just get it done in the 2 months of summer break. But that's not what that means anymore. But I feel like I'm stuck in that headspace sometimes where I'm like, oh, I can't wait for July and August when I have time off. And I'm like, that's not actually how it works.
Yeah, it's funny how we've been so conditioned, and it takes us so long to break that conditioning. But regardless, we're gonna have a fun summer. Even if it kills us, we're gonna have a fun summer.
We are, and today's episode is also about breaking your conditioning because it's still about the princess who would be a prince. If you missed our last episode, this is a 2-part episode. So the first part, we covered the story of the princess who would be a prince, or Ileana of the Golden Tresses. And this story comes from The Foundling Prince and Other Tales, which was translated from the Romanian story by Petre Inspirescu. And this story was translated by Julia Collier-Harris and Rhea Ipcar. Last episode, we talked about a fearsome but very old king who finally surrendered his kingdom to an almighty emperor, but found himself worried about one thing: the ransom that the emperor demanded of every fallen kingdom. You see, the emperor always demanded a prince from every place to be sent to him and held as a hostage for 10 years, but this king only had 3 daughters. At last, his youngest daughter offered to dress as a man and pretend to be a prince and join the court. There were many trials she had to face, including killing her own father, but she finally made it and quickly became a favorite at court. And so this is part 2 of our story of what happens to her, and we will finally figure out what happened to those golden locks that she picked up on the road. So the princess, who was a prince, finally settled into court, and one thing she quickly became known for was her cooking of meats. And the other princes soon swarmed to her and begged her to cook for them. It just so happened that on the day that she finally agreed to prepare the meal, the imperial cooks all became stupefied with drinks, and the pages came running to her quarters to beg her to take her meal to the king. Therefore, all her fine meats were set upon the imperial table, and the emperor was awed when he learned that it was the creation of the prince who had lately arrived. At the moment, as he was considering praising the young prince, the other hostage princes arrived and told him that the prince, who he had called Prince Charming lovingly, had boasted to them that he knew the whereabouts of the beautiful Iliane of the song, "Hair of gold, the spring doth bud, the rose doth bloom." And then there's ... which indicates the song probably goes on. And that Prince Charming had a lock of the beautiful maiden's hair as proof that he knew where she was. As soon as the emperor heard this, he demanded that the prince be brought to him. He demanded to know why Prince Charming had kept this knowledge from him, he who had honored him above all the rest. Now, the princess, aka Prince Charming, indeed had a lock of golden hair, but she had come across it by chance on her way here and had no idea about Princess Iliane. The king ordered her to go and bring him the princess, else he would see her head roll between her own 2 feet. Feeling overwhelmed and distraught, the princess ran down to her horse Sunbeam for advice. If you missed last episode, then as a little reminder, Sunbeam is literally a magical horse full of good advice, and she's definitely a horse girl.
Yep, 100% a horse girl, dude. I love it.
I'm in distress. I must go speak to my horse.
I mean, when I'm in distress, I want to go and speak to my cats, so I completely understand this move.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's her magical pet and probably the only person who she can trust, given that the other princes completely ratted her out, hoping that something would happen to her. Sunbeam told her not to worry because he knew that the Princess Iliane was stolen by a genie, but that she refused to marry him unless he could capture her stud of mares. While the genie was off trying to fulfill her wishes, she was trapped in the sea marshes. Sunbeam advised her to ask the king for 20 seafaring vessels laden with precious merchandise, and then he would advise her on what to do next. So the princess went straight back to the emperor, and bowing before him, she made her plea and promised to complete his mission. With that, the princess who would be a prince soon set sail with 20 vessels, and they sailed for 7 weeks towards the marshes of the sea. Once they arrived, Sunbeam advised her to carry with her a pair of delicate slippers and head towards the group of rotating palaces that turned with the sun. As she rode, 3 slaves approached, drawn to the stranger. Once they questioned the young man about his identity, he told them, or she told them, that she was just a merchant who had gotten lost and showed them the slippers as evidence of her wares. From one of the palace windows, Iliane saw the merchant and was attracted to this fine young man. She went down to greet him, and the clever princess told her that he of course had much finer wares in his ships. He offered to let her and the servants take a look aboard his vessels. The princess agreed, and while on board the ship, she was so distracted by the beautiful goods that she did not notice the ship moving until a sweet, fast-moving breeze caught her hair. Then, Ileana of the Golden Tresses found herself in the middle of the vast sea, stuck with another man who had coveted her and had stolen her away. Secretly, she was a little pleased that her deliverer had been such a fine young man, but she was still upset that she had gone from one captor to the next.
Wow, that was really simple to kidnap someone who's already been kidnapped. I guess it's kind of like this stealing from a store or stealing from someone who already stole it. It's like they can't report you to the police. What are you going to do?
I think it also helps that she was 7 weeks into the ocean. So who is going to make that journey just off chance? Magically, Seabeam knew exactly where to go. I do think that maybe having 20 vessels full of precious material might not have been needed.
Yeah, I think that was more of a flex on her part.
Yeah, I mean, she only needed the one boat, but Sunbeam was like, let's take 20.
Let's just take this opportunity to get more out of it, you know?
Oh no, 20 ships, 19 of them sunk with all of your stuff. Good Emperor.
That's why we needed 20, because we needed at least 19 to sink on our behalf. Don't go looking for them in my secret cave, okay? They're not there.
Sent them back to my father's kingdom.
Yes.
Which, you know, fair. I would do the same. I'd be like, it's going to actually take me 40 vessels to get you your bride, give or take.
Yeah, honestly, I'm now just disappointed that that's not what happened, that she didn't just send that back to her home.
Well, soon they reached the distant shore without any hindrance, but found a nasty surprise coming up behind them. You see, as soon as the ship with Iliane had set sail, the servants had realized their grave mistake in getting distracted by all the finery. They ran at once to warn the genie's mother, a great witch, who had flown over the great sea in chase, with one foot in the air and one in the sea foam.
Hang on.
Yes.
First of all, having a second genie that we have to deal with is very interesting. But then we're
also lives with his mother.
Also live with his mother, which is like, no judgment, but like the mother is also getting involved in this. Why is the dad not getting involved in this? Or why does he not have a friend or a buddy? It's like does Genie have mom stuff? Is that what I'm learning today?
I think the genies in this story have mom issues.
Okay.
But I mean, she is a ride or die. She does literally, run across the ocean, and we learned before that it takes them 7 weeks to get to land. So she was probably running for 7 weeks.
So good on her. I do like her now.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe don't like her too much.
I mean, antagonist in our story, but also, ride or die with your kiddo is always admirable. Maybe not always.
You know what I see? Unfortunately, the mental image that comes to my head when I think of the genie and the witch mother.
Mm-hmm.
In Spirited Away, the big baby.
Oh my gosh, now that's what I see.
Yeah, that's exactly what I see. And I see her, like, 'cause in the movie, she runs, and, like, there's, like, a cloud after her as she's running. That's exactly what I see when I think of the genie and the mother.
It's a beautiful image. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, as soon as I was reading about these genies and their moms, and I'm like, these genies are kind of like big babies. But the mom witch, I was like, I know exactly where I've seen a mom witch who loved her son so much before.
I was thinking just Disney's Aladdin genie. That was all I was thinking of. But this is fun too.
Now, back to our hero. As soon as Iliane spotted the witch chasing them from behind, she pointed her out to the merchant princess. They were riding astride Sunbeam, and Iliane had to hide her face in the merchant's back to hide her tears, for surely the witch would kill this new group and bring her back to the genie. The merchant prince, who was secretly a princess, whispered to her horse for advice, since she did not think they could outrun the witch. He told her to reach into his left ear and take out the whetstone and throw it behind them. So she did. As the stone hit the ground, it rose and stretched into the sky as mountains, but the witch did not even hesitate as she began climbing. Sunbeam galloped like a hurricane, but still the trio soon spotted the witch crest the mountain behind them and continued to give chase. Once again, the clever animal told the princess to not worry and reach into his right ear, where she would find a brush that she could throw behind them. The princess did as she was told and threw the brush, which sprang into a great forest that was so thick that even young baby deer could not have found a way through. However, the witch was unstoppable as she broke through the trunks like they were twigs and continued racing after them. It was not long before she was soon right behind the two princesses, so close that she could almost grab Iliane's golden hair. Once more, the princess merchant prince begged her horse for advice, and he told her to grab the princess's ring and throw it behind them. With one hand on the reins, she reached back, grabbed Iliane's hand, sliding the ring off and throwing it behind them as hard as she could. Just as it hit the ground, it erupted into a tower of stone with sides as smooth as ivory. The witch was finally forced to stop, since she could neither see a way to climb the tower walls nor circle the endless walls. Still, she would not be bested by a young man and his mettlesome horse. So she arched her body and with a dizzying leap attempted to throw herself over the top of the tower. But she miscalculated and crashed down on the battlements. All around her were menacing hooks to which she was forced to cling without being able to hoist herself up or pass over. From her vantage point, she looked in every direction, but could not see the golden-haired princess and her dark-eyed rescuer. So she used all of her magic to spit out flames for miles around the tower, and soon everything was incinerated as far as the eye could see. Once she stilled, she could hear the sounds of mocking coming from somewhere just below her. You see, dear travelers, the witch had set everything that she could see ablaze, except the foot of the tower, which she could not see or reach. There, Sunbeam had stilled, hiding his two princesses from harm.
Nice. Clever horse.
The witch struggled, but caught amongst the hooks, she was unable to even loosen an arm. In her rage and spite, she struggled, and unfortunately, she lost her grip and fell down into the middle of the tower. As she fell, already plotting her move when she landed, the tower slowly began to close in and sink into the ground. It crushed her as it collapsed, and soon there was nothing left of the witch except her broken body. The princess and Iliane took one parting look at the evil woman before leaving her to the crows. They rode for many days and grew close over their travels, but soon they arrived at the court of the all-powerful emperor. The emperor was pleased with Prince Charming and asked the beautiful maiden for her hand. But she had grown to love the princess who would be a prince, and wondered bitterly why others could marry a man of their choice, while she must always be passed from hand to hand, subject to the whims of powerful men and monsters. She gave the king the same runaround she had given the genie, that she could only marry once the stud of her mares were restored to her, with their stallion and all the rest. The emperor turned to the princess and told her to go off at once to fulfill this new quest, but she resisted. The rebellious maid cried that he was once again putting her head in danger, while so many of the other princes stood idle at court. Surely, since he was a just ruler, would it not be fair to give this mission to another? Where would she even go to get the stud of mares and their stallion? The emperor of the world grew angry and told her to move heaven and earth if it was necessary, but that the young prince was tasked with his quest and no other. So, with no choice, the maiden bid goodbye to Iliane and set off on Sunbeam.
Next quest immediately acquired.
Sunbeam listened to the new quest and told her to get 9 buffalo hides, cover them with tar, and then fix them onto his body. The princess obeyed, and the two set out to the place where Sunbeam thought the creatures might be. It was a long journey, but eventually they came across the herd, and unfortunately, they also came across the genie whom Iliane had first tasked with the quest. When they approached, he was running back and forth, unable to figure out a way to hurt the creatures, and unaware that his captive had been stolen from him and his mother lay dead. The princess who would be a prince approached him and told him that his captive had been kidnapped from the castle, and his mother died of spite in the pursuit. But when the genie heard this, he quickly realized that the cause of these troubles was the young man in front of him, and he turned into fire and flame and grew twice in size. He threw himself onto the prince, but Sunbeam and the princess, who would be a prince, kept a cool head as they fought the genie off. They fought until the ground trembled beneath them, and every creature within 20 leagues had hidden or run away. They fought until the genie took his final exhausted breath, and they fought until the daughter of the king, the princess who would be a prince, severed his head at last.
Yay!
Next boss fight.
Exactly. She's just doing a boss rush mode is what I'm seeing right now.
She's like, I killed your mother and I'll kill you too.
Exactly. Even like some princes in other stories don't go through nearly as much killing to get their princess.
No. This is a lot of murder, and it's a lot of like separate tales that have all been kind of put into one. So
yeah,
it could just be a collection of tales that were gathered and made into one long story. But in general, I just feel like she's done one quest to go get the princess, the next quest to go get the princess's horses, and then we'll have to see what the third quest is.
Oh yeah, because things always come in threes.
Yes, because like they always come in threes. It's never just one.
The question is, are we going to get a third genie with his mom?
Mm-hmm. Once the princess's fight was over, Sunbeam told her to rest in a tree while he gathered the herd. She watched as her gallant, shining horse approached the mares, whinnying in such a fashion that he was soon surrounded. The stallion, snorting with anger at this new rival, threw himself upon Sunbeam, and it was a fight to behold. When the stallion attacked Sunbeam, he caught pieces of the buffalo hide that had attached to the horse, but when Sunbeam attacked the stallion, he bit mouthfuls of flesh. Finally, the stud surrendered, and Sunbeam led the mares on the journey back to the court of the all-powerful emperor, with the stallion trailing behind them. When Ileana of the Golden Tresses saw her horses appearing, she ran to each of them and called them by their names. When at last she called the name of her stallion, he shook his coat When at last she called the name of her stallion, he shook his coat and was healed at once. Then she turned to the beaming emperor and said that the mares had to be milked so that an engagement bath could be prepared. The servants tried, but the mares kicked out and attacked anyone who came near them. Also, this is how I learned that you could actually milk horses for milk.
I didn't know you could do that.
Like, I knew in my head that obviously they're mammals. They have, they give a live birth, so obviously they have to have milk. But I never realized that you could milk them like you would milk a cow.
I didn't.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure it's normal. It seems weird because this is not the thing you think about. You think about cows getting milked.
But my Google search history is weird. But I was just like, can you milk a horse? Can you drink horse's milk? Why can't you drink horse's milk?
Ever since we started this podcast, I just stopped questioning my Google search history. The amount of things I have to Google and look up is insane.
Yeah.
But also, this princess is also a horse girl. They're two horse
she's
girls.
Also like, I can't marry you until my horses are present for the ceremony, actually.
All right, we're getting there.
So, yeah, almost there. This is 2 episodes, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. But yes, we have another horse girl, and not only does she need her horses there for the wedding, but she needs to bathe in their milk before she can get married.
I wonder what that does for her skin. Is it like good? Does it like kind of help keep moisture in? Like, is it good for her hair?
Well,
I don't know.
It's not, I don't know what horse's milk does to your skin, but I'm pretty sure like bathing in milk was a thing, so maybe it's just something very similar.
Yeah.
Finally, and the horses are, I'm guessing, magical, so there must be some magical property to them, so we'll see. So the servants gave it a go, but they kept getting kicked, and soon no one wanted to approach these horses. Until finally, the emperor once again turned to the princess prince and ordered her to do the task. Now, Prince Charming was angry at always being ordered about in such a way, but Sunbeam ordered her not to worry and just do the task. Soon, a heavy rain began to fall, and it rained so much that the water rose to the knees of the mares. Then it became cold, so cold that the water froze overnight and the mares were trapped. Only then did Sunbeam tell the princess prince to go about milking as if she had done nothing else in her life. So this worked out wonderfully for the task, but it wasn't what Iliane had wanted. She had tried everything she could to fend off the emperor, but her beloved had been too clever and overcome every task. Finally, she told the emperor that she would marry him if he did one last thing. She ordered him to go and find a vase of magical water near the River Jordan. Now, in some versions, it's a vase or a vase of holy water. In some cases, it's just magical water. So I think it depends on which version you read, and I think it depends on if you're reading an earlier tale, a later tale. But in this case, a vase of holy water or magical water. Once again, instead of doing it himself, the emperor sent the princess prince on the journey, and she set off, not even bothering to complain this time. As they journeyed, Sunbeam told the princess that the water was guarded by nuns in a little chapel near the river. They always had someone on watch day and night, so the only time to steal it would be when a hermit came to instruct them, and only one nun was left on duty. So they set up their plan, and the princess waited and waited for the right time to strike. It happened that one night, the nun on duty had fallen asleep during her watch, and the others had all gone away to be instructed by the hermit. so the princess snuck in and stole the vase. However, as she was leaving, the nun awoke and saw that their prized possession had been stolen. So she cried and cried. Her crying drew the attention of the other nuns, and they soon joined her. All wailing in sadness. Only the hermit had the foresight to go and see the thief and see if he could catch them. From a distance, he saw the thief riding away, and he cursed them, proclaiming that for committing such an act, the thief should be turned into a man if they were a woman, and into a woman if they were a man. Which is a very specific curse to bestow, but that was the curse he bestowed.
Interesting.
I mean, I feel like if you have the power to curse people, you might be like, fire, smite. You must, collapse where you stand, heart attack. And he's like, nah.
You're going to change gender.
Yeah.
But it's almost, but at the same time, also, like, good for him. Like, he didn't just assume it was a man, because he could have been, you're a man turned into a woman. I could see so easily, like, a lot of stories foiling him because he just assumed she was a man, and then that nothing would have affected her. But he was like, just in case, because you could have been a cool girl, you now have to be a dude.
But I feel like that's the worst punishment he can think of. But also, the punishment that he came up with doesn't actually get the water back. Because if he was like, oh, I hope your horse dies or something like that, then...
Well, maybe he was hoping they would come back and be very upset and, like, give it back in the hopes that he would change, undo the curse,
Like some kind of like, oh no, I've been turned into the opposite gender. I must go on a quest to fix this immediately.
Exactly.
Well, the hermit's curse did come to pass, and the princess suddenly felt such a great change in herself. She had turned into a he. The princess that would be a prince was now truly a prince. And what a prince he was. The new prince rejoiced at his transformation and marveled at his strength and vigor. So I guess if the hermit's plan was to get them to come back to break the curse, he was going to be waiting for a long, 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 long time.
He's standing next to nuns. He's like, don't worry. They're going to come back any minute now. Just wait. They're going to come back.
Just give me a sec. They'll probably return the water and hope that it'll undo the change.
Yep.
And I can just see, like, the night. You know how, like, animations do the day to night transition and back again to show waiting? I can see that.
Definitely.
The new prince rode hard to the emperor's palace and handed the vase before declaring that he had done enough. The emperor agreed, and sensing a change in the young man, proclaimed that upon his death, his heir shall be this new prince, unless he had a son, in which case the prince would be his son's right hand, but still the most powerful man in the empire besides his own son. Iliane heard of all of this and grew even more resentful. Had the emperor truly loved her, surely he would have gone on the quest himself. No, instead he had forced the tasks onto Prince Charming, her secret beloved. So, resolving to take matters into her own hands, she ordered the bath with her male's milk to be drawn and heated, and then she invited the emperor to join her. Obviously overjoyed, the emperor agreed and joined her for her bath. She then ordered that her stallion be brought in to help cool it with his magic. The emperor got in, and Iliane got in right afterwards, but she gave her stallion a curious look. Understanding, the stallion blew his magic over his princess first to cool her down, and then turned to the emperor and blew red-hot air right at him until he was charred and fell back dead.
Why didn't we do this earlier?
Fire-breathing horses, and she waits to do a fire-breathing horse act.
My goodness. I feel like we could have done this earlier and avoided a lot of this shenaniganery.
Yes. News quickly spread of the mysterious death of the emperor, and everyone assembled to mourn him. After the funeral, Iliane of the Golden Tresses approached Prince Charming and declared her love for him. He who had slain the witch, the genie, found her mares, and the vase of water. To him she owed her love and her life. Prince Charming, who was now truly a prince, agreed, and they both called their stallions to cool the engagement bath. After that, their wedding celebrations lasted for 3 weeks and everyone rejoiced. Prince Charming ruled with his wisdom and sense of justice, with his empress at his side. And they might even be reigning today if they are not dead. The storyteller continues, I was also there, I who tell you this tale, standing on my feet and gaping in the air. For be it known, there is never any seat at feast for prattlers, but I have one here, for upon my saddle I sit me down, was telling tales of far renown. And that is the story of the princess who would be a prince, who actually was a prince at the end. So the princess who was a prince, or who became a prince.
Wow. I do appreciate that the princess who has been just like sending out tasks just straight up murdered the emperor is like, oh no. Anyways. Next
She's like,
prince,
I mean,
please.
I tried to get him to these impossible tasks, but I guess I'll just have to murder him.
But also everyone was sad that the emperor died. Really? He sounds terrible.
Well, he was still technically an all-powerful emperor, which, you know what? I respect the fact that he didn't just go off and do these random quests that take 7 weeks to do, knowing that he still had a kingdom to run.
Yeah, maybe there was a lot of good logistical reasons why this was happening.
He's like, well, I mean, I can't really just go off and hunt down horses. I'm going to let someone else do that while I finish running the actual kingdom. But yes.
I wonder how her father and sisters would take it when they find out that she is actually a he now, and that they're ruling happily the empire that kind of conquered her old kingdom.
Well, I'd assume she'd give the kingdom back. Or, I mean, technically, if the kingdom is now hers, she's still technically running it. Well, he's still technically running it, so at this point, he's a guy.
Yeah.
I do like that in this version, he's very excited to be a guy. Well, she's very excited to be a guy. She's like, finally, I get to be really strong and really powerful, and look how much I've changed. Because if she was genuinely upset and she had just wanted to be kind of like, you know, a cross-dresser or a lesbian or something like that, it would have been a bit sad. But in this one, she's happy with the change. She's not going back to give the vase back, and the hermit's still probably waiting for her.
Yeah, any day now. She's coming back.
I mean, in some versions, the two princesses get married first, while the first princess is still in disguise, and then only after does she change into a prince, which might have made for a really interesting wedding night, and then following nights, once you are like, actually, I'm a guy now. And it's like, okay, that's fine.
She's very fluid with her gender.
Yes. But yeah, so I found this story and I thought it was really interesting to have all these different things that come up with the different trials, her father testing her, the different genies. The witch, I think, is my favorite part, just this image of this witch running after them and having to do 3 different things. I love the idea that at the end of the day, it was Iliane of the Golden Tresses that killed the emperor with her magic horse that could apparently breathe fire. But yes, so travelers, I hope you listen to both parts of this journey and that you are as confused and as hyped as we are. And with that, dear travelers, if you want to see more show notes or episodes that we've covered in the past, I do hope that you'll go check out our website, www.talesfromenchantedforest.com. If you do want to see more snippets and just follow us on any social media, we are on Bluesky, Mastodon, TikTok, Instagram, at From Enchanted or at Tales from Enchanted Forest. However, I do understand if you're a bit old like Sparrow, if you were a bit old school like Sparrow, you can always send us any comments, questions, or suggestions. I don't know why I said old like Sparrow. I said it and I was like, wait, is that what I always say?
Yeah, you were forgetting the old school. There's no school like the old school.
Yeah, like not old school, sorry. So if you are a bit old school like Sparrow, you can always send us your questions, comments, suggestions on our email, talesfromenchantedforest@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and just any thoughts you've had on this tale or any other tales within this genre that you think are interesting.
And remember, there's always a place for you in the Enchanted Forest.